In Italy, grappa is primarily served as an after-dinner drink, a digestivo, or it follows a fine shot of espresso at any time of the day. Like wine tasters, there are professional grappa tasters in the world, professional bartenders too. Colin Turner has spent 2 decades in the hospitality business. He is the bar manager at Cin Cin Restaurant on Robson Street in Vancouver. It is my pleasure to welcome Colin Turner to Studio 4 to tell us more.
Hello.
Happy grappa.
Happy grappa.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You're an actor too.
I used to be an actor. I'm more a bartender now than anything, but I still do a lot of script reading and things like that.
Sure.
Just to keep fresh, because it's quite an interesting art.
Why not?
Follow.
Keep auditioning. Plus, a lot of movie stars hang out at the Cin Cin Restaurant.
Absolutely, yeah. We've seen a few over the years for sure.
Get a director in there and you can quit this bartending.
Never quit the bartending.
How did you get into it? Why?
Bartending, I got into mostly like a lot of guys. We get into it by accident. I got into it very early on when I was about 19. Just as a way to make money and pay the bills, and then as I went to school, it was another way to keep the fridge full and keep going on, and it just kept going on and on and on, and it eventually became something that I'm very, very interested in. I always liked dealing with people, having them in the bar, talking to them, doing all sorts of things, and now we're getting into spirits and all different sorts of spirits that are out there, and all the fun stuff that you can do with a lot of the, especially the Italian spirits, which is sort of my specialty as a bartender.
And as you eavesdrop on conversations, you get a lot of gossip in this town, don't you?
I get a bit, but as a bartender, you never repeat it.
No, you never. It's like the hairdresser.
Absolutely.
Don't say anything. So grappa, how's it made?
Grappa is primarily made from the pomace of the leftover from the winemaking process. So they press the grapes, they take that, and then they ship it off to a distillery, and then they make some grappa. Generally, it's basically they ferment it in a giant distilling thing that heats it up, and vapors come off the pomace. That is alcohol. It goes up into a long, tall column, and then turns back into liquid, and comes back down, and what you end up with is grappa.
And the Greeks drink grappa too, don't they?
Everybody drinks grappa.
Everybody drinks grappa. I hear Canadians do too.
Canadians do drink grappa as well. To be called grappa, it has to be made in Italy, and it has to be using Italian grapes.
It does?
It does.
Okay.
That is the only European Union law surrounding grappa. Much like the Italians with their wine laws, there's a whole bunch of arbitrary laws that people come up with, or arbitrary varietals, and different types of grappa.
Well, I must say it works. As a digestivo, I've had the odd grappa after a meal, and the next day you're not hungover. I don't know if I've made that up, or there is something in the grappa that helps. It's like a per willem. You take a per willem after something, somehow the next day you feel a little better. I have no idea what's going on inside.
I'm not exactly sure what the medicinal properties are in grappa, but it is a digestive. It's meant to settle the stomach at the end of a big, large meal. And when you're having Italian meals, you have pasta, you have meat, cheeses, salads, fish. You have all sorts of different stuff. So your stomach gets quite full by the end of that, and a little grappa at the end of the night actually helps smooth things out.
And what is the difference between a good grappa and a not so good grappa?
The quality of the pomace is a big indication of that, and what they do to it before they distill it. If it's put into a fridge and left for months on end, that's going to affect the quality of the grappa. If it's made right away when it's fresh, again, that's going to indicate in the grappa that it's going to come out being a fresher, stronger flavored grappa.
Okay, so the color, the Nonino?
The Nonino.
Nonino is a white grappa?
It is a white grappa. This is one of the Nonino is a very big producer in Italy. They have 4 major distilleries that run 24 hours a day, and they produce over close to 15 million liters a year of grappa. They have their own vineyards as well, so they also make liqueurs, amaros, all sorts of fruit-flavored liquors. They started out when the Nonino in the late 60s, this was their very first one. It was the Piccoli. Piccoli is a grape in Italy. It's grown in Italy, and it's largely used in white blends from wine, but it's very, very fragrant. And it has a big bouquet on it.
So aromatic, would that be the right word?
Aromatic would be a great word, yeah.
Okay. So this one, is this a proper grappa glass?
This is a proper grappa glass. They call it a distillate glass. Spiegelau makes these. They're crystal. And they're designed that it takes, when you're nosing the grappa, that it's not going to go straight up your nose. You're going to get a little wisp of it, and it's not going to heat the grappa up because you're going to hold it by the stem. Okay,
and so when you're nosing a grappa, as a grappa expert, what do you smell? Like, what do you look for?
I look for things like bouquet. Is it smell fruity? Does it have a grape smell? What kind of smells am I getting off that? Often I get dried fruits and berries, that type of thing.
Right.
And different varietals of grapes, you can end up with, you get a bit of basil in there, you get a bit of spice in there, depending on which one it is.
Sure. And number 2?
Number 2 here, this is a Beniamino Moscato Grappa. This is a lower end, sort of mass-produced grappa. They get their pomace from everywhere, but they make a consistent grappa. And this is one that I use to make a lot of cocktails with.
Okay, so just a sipping grappa would be which one?
Just a sipping grappa would be either the Piccoli or the Grappa di Brunello here from Il Palazzone.
Okay, do you want to pour a little bit of it?
Absolutely.
We won't drink it, of course,
No,
too early in the morning.
Too early in the morning for me.
But when you pour in a particular grappa glass, that much? How much?
You want just about an ounce. You don't want anything more than that. It'll be a little too strong and your glass will be a little too full.
And the temperature?
The temperature, room temperature is good. Anywhere between 18 and 22 degrees Celsius is just right. Too warm, it'll be very bitey and very
Okay,
acidic.
so you put it in the fridge and take it out before you serve it. Now you're having the dinner party. You want to bring out the grappa. Where should it be?
Just leave it on your shelf in a cool, dark, dry place. Like I said, room temperature is usually good between 18 and 22. A little colder, it doesn't open up as much. You don't get a lot of the flavor, and too warm, it's just simply too warm.
Sure.
And a warm liquor doesn't always taste that good.
No, I noticed. Why ice? When do you ice grappa?
I don't
or do you ice grappa?
I never generally ice grappa. I brought the ice along to make a couple of little cocktails.
Oh.
With grappa incorporated. I wanted to make cocktails using a lot of grappa, one, because I have a lot of it at Cin Cin, and 2, I wanted to take a little bit of the stigma out of grappa. People look at grappa and they remember back to the late 60s where it would peel
like turpentine.
Absolutely. It would peel your face right off.
Drink some gasoline, no. But now there are fine grappas,
There are
right?
very fine grappas out there, and they're varied in terms of the grape they're using, the distillation method they're using.
Okay.
So they're quite nuanced. One Moscato Grappa will taste different than another Moscato Grappa.
Oh.
Because of what they're doing to it and how they're distilling it.
And the price point?
Price point can vary between $40 a bottle up to $80, $90 a bottle, depending on which one it is. If it's a higher end Grappa coming from a winery, like Il Palazzone or Tedeschi, it's going to be a little bit more because we're using their grapes and their pomace.
So did you finish the cocktail? Is it just grappa on ice?
It's not just grappa on ice. It's actually, it's got grappa, a little Punta Mess, which is a little red vermouth, and a little Vaporol, which is Campari's sweeter cousin. And what I did is I put it in my barrel here, and we aged it for about 5 weeks.
Put what in your barrel?
The whole cocktail.
The whole cocktail?
The whole cocktail. So this was
the secret barrel cocktail.
The end result of that. It's kind of nice,
deep, I see. This
color.
Came out of the barrel.
This came out of the barrel, correct.
Gotcha. Because it says pure.
It says
sure
pure.
It is.
It's very pure.
So the ingredients are, again, a grappa.
I got a grappa.
Good quality grappa, particular grappa.
I usually use a Moscato. I generally use the Beniamino because it's got a nice strong flavor. So you want it to be able to come through the other ingredients. You don't want to lose the whole grappa flavor. I also use Aperol and a little bit of Punta Mess or red vermouth, like a Martini Rosso or something like that.
All right. Well, I bought this grappa. Look at this. Isn't this beautiful?
Gorgeous.
I got this in Italy. I haven't. It's so pretty, I don't want to drink it. And it came packaged like this. I have no idea if it's good grappa or bad grappa, but isn't it gorgeous?
It's fantastic.
I know.
A lot of the way they sell grappa in Italy is by the bottles. A lot of the larger companies have their own bottle making plants where they make these elaborate crystal bottles and swans, giant golf balls, big, huge decanters, and they're gorgeous. The grappa in there is very good, but it's all about the bottle.
And do you find customers at the Cin Cin call for grappa at the end of the evening very often? So it's getting to be more a drink of choice? It's
starting to become a big drink of choice, especially with my bar, because they see it. I have it displayed all out on my shelves, and I have over 70 bottles right now, so they're everywhere. And people generally ask, what's the little round bottle, or what's the tall, skinny bottle?
So it comes in that bottle?
It does come. Nannino comes in these bottles. This particular lineup, they're called their Mangiavetto lineup, which means it's single varietal, and it all comes from their vineyards.
Oh, great.
It's
great
fantastic stuff. It's very, very, very well made.
And can you buy that in the regular liquor stores, specialty stores?
Specialty stores might be carrying some of it. Most of the grabbas I get are through some of our wine importers. We have a massive wine list at Cin Cin as well.
Of course you do.
Very Italian-based.
And good food.
And fantastic food. So,
yeah, that too. Jack Eversole kind of knows what he's doing.
He does.
Yeah.
Absolutely he does. And he said to me many years ago, he said, how many grappas do you have? And at the time, I think we had 16, which I thought was a lot. He goes, I want 50.
50 grappas.
So I started then and there learning about grappa, how to buy a grappa, how to get it into the country, and now we end up with over 70, and I've got about 20 or 30 more on the way.
Well, thanks for teaching us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Nice to
Appreciate
see
it.
you. Colin Turner, bar manager at Cin Cin on Robson.